Hello everyone, and welcome to Korean Cinema Today, the Korean Film Council's new podcast. Here in Seoul, this is your host, Pierce Conran, and today we'll be chatting about what's going on in Korean film, and we'll have an special interview today with Jin PARK, a new programmer of the Busan International Film Festival and former head programmer of the PFAN, the Pucheon International Fantastic Film Festival. So, Korean Cinema Today is part of KOBIZ, which is the online segment of the Korean Film Council. You can find us at koreanfilm.or.kr, and there you will also find our newsletter, our webzine, plenty of news, features, interviews, and more. And you can also follow us on Twitter. It's at Korean Film Biz, that's B-I-Z, or also have a like of our Facebook page, which you can find at facebook.com/kobiz.kofic. That's KOBIZ.KOFIC. Once again, this is Pierce, your host. I'm a reporter for the Korean Film Council, and I'm also a Korean correspondent for twitchfilm.com and the founder of the film blog Modern Korean Cinema. So a little later today, we'll be chatting with Jin PARK, the programmer of the Busan International Film Festival. But before that, let's have a little catch-up of what's been going on in Korean film in the last few days. In Korean film news this week, the new star Kim Woo-bin was cast in the film 20, which will be the second film from director Lee Byung-hun. Now, Lee Byung-hun is not to be confused with the very famous actor. This is the new director who debuted with his film Cheer Up, Mr. Lee, which is kind of a mockumentary about a filmmaker making his debut, and that was a film that premiered at the Jeonju International Film Festival last year. And this new film is called 20, and it features 4 young men who turned 20, and it's kind of about their exploits. Kim Woo-bin is a big star from television who recently made his leading man debut in the sequel to the popular gangster film Friend. That was Friend: The Great Legacy, which was released late last year and was quite successful at the box office. The 30th Los Angeles Asian Pacific Film Festival announced its lineup for this year's edition, which will take place in May from the 1st to the 11th. And among the films on their lineup, there are 6 in total. 3 of those are short films made by Korean Americans, and there are 3 Korean features. Those include Ho Jung's thriller Hide and Seek, which was a very popular late summer hit last year, kind of a surprise from the big distributor NEW. The film will also be released in theaters. No, not in theaters. It'll be released on Blu-ray and DVD as well as video on demand, courtesy of RAM releasing in June in North America as well. So this will be the North American premiere. Also having its North American premiere will be Kim Jae-han's debut indie Tui, which was screened at the Busan International Film Festival in October and also competed in the Dubai International Film Festival's More Asia competition. Also screening will be Final Recipe, which previously screened in America in Hawaii at their International Film Festival and as well as their Spring Showcase, which is happening this month. At the box office, it's been kind of Korean films have been having a hard go at it. It's been very dominant from Hollywood has been exerting its dominance. The top 5 films from most of this week were all Hollywood, topped, of course, by Captain America, which has been top of the charts for 2 weeks, and another hit from Marvel in Korea. The previous Marvel films have all been doing very well. And, of course, at the moment, Avengers 2 is still shooting in Korea, so no doubt those scenes, which include Captain America, have boosted Captain America's performance here. Also doing surprisingly well is Grand Budapest Hotel. That's the new Wes Anderson film, which has been much acclaimed. The film has been doing well in America, but been doing very strongly here. It's almost at 500,000 admissions, and just this week it was reached number 2 on the charts. Quite an impressive performance from a film that would be considered more of a limited release. But later this month, on April 30th, Korea will finally be fighting back with a pair of massive films that are going to be released. CJ will be entering the fray with The Target, which is a new thriller starring Ri Sung-young, and Lotte will also be countering with The Fatal Encounter, which is the first film from the return of actor Hyun Bin, who was away from military service for 2 years. And that film is already looking to perform very, very strongly. Earlier this week, it was at number 2 on the reservations chart, and that's a full 3 weeks ahead of its release. So presumably that will top the chart when it's released on April 30th. So as we go into May, perhaps we'll see a swing in the market share, and Korea will take back the crown. great pleasure of welcoming Jin Park into the studio with us today. This is the World Cinema Programmer for the Busan International Film Festival and former head programmer for PFAM, the Busan International Fantastic Film Festival. Jin, it's a pleasure to have you here with us today. Thank you very much for coming in.
Thank you for having me, Pierce.
So congratulations again on your appointments.
Thanks.
Busan is a huge festival, biggest festival in Asia. How does it feel to be part of the team?
Well, I mean, there are tons of jobs. Just right away, just right when I joined the festival, and I'm still learning a lot of things there. It's still the festival business, but it's a different festival. And it's much bigger than the previous festival that I serviced. So there are many things apart from the programming. I mean, there are many the events or many the business the festival try to do. So I'm just also part of it. But the name of the festival touched me is it's kind of different. I mean, when I go and I meet the friends or the new people, well, I think I'm just wearing a new clothes. But a very exciting one, I mean.
Good. That sounds great. And so one of the things you do, one of your central roles, of course, as a programmer is you have to kind of go around the world and find films.
Yes.
And one of your central area of focus is Latin America.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just returned from a trip to Central and South America. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
I am. I went to the film festival in Cartagena, Colombia, and after that I went to Guadalajara International Film Festival, which is in Mexico. Both festivals clearly showed the gist of the Latin American cinema and the people in the industry as well. So I had a really great time to make acquaintance with the people and take a chance to what's going on in the Latin American cinema now. And I noticed that there are quite a big similarity between Korean people and Latin American people.
Oh, really?
Yes, I mean they're very friendly,
Mm-hmm.
and they have no barrier in approaching the people who didn't know before, and I could see that in some of the films too. I mean there are very interesting films that I thought, it could work for the Korean audiences. I mean, in general, not only for the festival goers, but also the general audience, the public. So, yes, I saw a lot of things and felt and enjoyed food and tequila, too. Had a great time. Only the flight is too long.
Yeah, it must have been very, very long. How long does it take you to get there?
Going there, it's altogether like more than 30 hours.
My
Coming
goodness.
back is entire 2 days. But it was worth. Worth.
How long was your trip?
I've stayed there 2 weeks.
Okay. So that kind of makes it worth the long travel
Yes.
periods. Any shorter and it would be
No, I mean, if I had a chance to go there, I will try to, stay there as long as I can, I think.
Good. So it sounds like you had a great time there, and you saw a lot of interesting films. Did you have any kind of great big discoveries? Anything that you think you're going to be bringing to BIFF later this year?
Oh, I'm still trying to find, and there are clearly the good films with a strong potential to travel to Busan this October. Mostly the films by the young talents, the filmmakers who made the first feature or the second feature. Well, I think the Latin American territory now having a really great time. The heydays of the young talents in the film industry, and there are a lot of films by the younger filmmakers in their 20s even.
Good.
And I had the chance to take a look at the work in progress, and there are a couple of very good project and uncompleted films that actually that I really loved.
Excellent.
So I think yes.
So a lot of kind of a potential items for the flash forward section. Then that would be
yes,
it, yeah?
exactly.
Okay, very good.
Probably completed and introduced in Cannes this year.
Okay,
yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Excellent. So no, that sounds great. So before at PFAN, of course, PFAN is a very big genre festival, the biggest one in Asia. And as head programmer there, your focus, of course, was very much on genre cinema.
Yes.
So now, how has your focus as a programmer changed now that you've moved over to Busan?
Well, Busan Festival opens to all kinds of films, so I have to catch all kinds of films without any bias,
Of course.
But still, yes, I think it's natural to, channel my still my attention is in channel to the genre films or the films with some genre elements.
Absolutely.
I don't think it's something that I have to avoid or something that I have to get rid of. Maybe I can have some a good selection with touch of genre films. So and these days during my service for PFAN, I found out that there are so many talented, genre filmmakers. They do not stay in this traditional or conventional genre frame.
Absolutely.
They try to work in a very unique and fresh way in the genre, the aesthetics. So I think it definitely could be, the good choice for the Busan. So it's somehow just a mingle together by at this point.
Yeah.
But still I have to open my eyes wider to so many different type of films, which is kind of exciting.
Absolutely. So, but yeah, it's true. You have a big festival like Cannes, for instance, where typically it was known for
art house films.
Yeah, art house films, or just kind of a big kind of American dramas and things like that. And just looking at last year's lineup, there's quite a significant number of genre films. So yeah, it seems like a lot of the big festivals are kind of going in that direction as well.
Yes, we have the genre sections called Midnight Passion, which is totally for the genre film goers. But there is some the films in the very ambiguous territory, like could be art house, but also using the genre elements in a very unique way. So maybe I could put, but regarding the speaking of the genre goers and the genre selections, I think I have to pass it to the programmer who's in charge of Midnight Passion.
Okay, I'm sure you'll be close friends.
Oh yes, we've been rival for each other for years.
Oh, really?
I mean, during our rivalry, actually, we became really good friends.
Oh, good. Now you can work together. So as kind of the Latin American film programmer, or that's just part of your focus anyway. But you've kind of been tasked with exposing Korean audiences to kind of a series of national cinemas that they're not particularly well versed in. Does this kind of pose quite a challenge for you?
Oh, it is actually, and people there in Latin American film industry, they are already aware of that situation, because Latin American cinema is not that popular compared to the films from Europe or film from North American territory. The films of Latin American cinema are not really popular in Asian territory, so they are really eager for going there and experiencing like how's the market working and how's the Korean audiences, the Asian audiences respond to the Latin American cinema. But they and I both agree that there is a huge potential in rapid and bigger exchange or flow each territory's cinema to each other's theaters. As I told you earlier, I mean, I could find some similarity. Mostly people's emotions, like how they feel about their family, feel about their loss or romance and things like that. It could be very similar to how the Korean, emotions are depicted in the Korean cinema. So there is the basic ground that we can share together.
Okay.
And now I have to really smart how to promote, the Latin American cinema in the festival, and probably led to distribution in the Korean theaters. One of the way that I can do is probably a combination of the different cultural forms like cinema and music, cinema and dance, cinema and food, or cinema and tequila kind of things, because those culture are quite popular in Korea as well. So that could be one of the effective way to, the drag the attention from the Korean audiences to the Latin American cinema. And I got actually, during my stay in Latin America in last March, I got a couple of very interesting suggestions in, programming the Latin American cinema. Not only the new ones, but also the special retrospectives, such as
very good.
the 60s, 70s Latin American comedy selection.
Oh,
That could be quite interesting.
that does sound very interesting.
I remember I watched a couple of, the comedy films from the 70s and early 80s from Brazil and Argentina. Really, really hilarious and really great. But there's no way to get the information of the films.
Sure, I imagine that must be hard to come by.
Exactly. So some of the people that I met, they actually promised that they can help me to locate the print and all the information about those genres. So those, the activities or the project could be one of the effective way to, introduce Latin American cinema to Korean audience, I guess.
Definitely. Well, it sounds like a fruitful trip. You made some very useful contacts while you were
Yes.
there. Now, speaking of kind of this, the similarities between kind of the cultures of Korea and Latin America, I do recall, of course, that 2 years ago, one of the most popular films in Korea was a remake of an Argentinian film, All About My Wife.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So then I guess there is some proven
Yes.
crossover appeal there.
Exactly. But compared to the other cultural, popular cultural forms like, K-pop or K-drama, which are already too huge there. I mean, people always talking about the K-pop idols and TV dramas and television shows, but Korean cinema are not going there, are not yet there.
Right.
But I think
the K-drama certainly.
yes, there's
yeah,
already bridge already built between the two territories.
Yeah,
so I
so,
think it's a matter of time.
Soaps are huge in Latin America, aren't they? What are they called? The novellas? No.
Novellas,
Yeah,
telenovelas,
yeah.
yes. It's very similar, actually,
Yeah.
the telenovela and the Korean makjang drama.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there you go. Start from the ground up. These days, BIFF is being nicknamed the Cannes of Asia, for good reason. But do you think it's not quite up to the level of the kind of the European trifecta of Cannes, Venice, Berlin, or even Toronto? But do you think it could grow to rival these festivals in the coming years?
Well, I'm just one of the team, so I'm not represent, the festival's policy or the vision. But from my personal perspective, I guess those big festivals, of course, a festival culture based on the art house films, and those are rooted in, the European cinema culture. So clearly, the film festivals based in Europe, they still have the biggest power in the world cinema circuit, the festival. But I think each of the big festivals now trying to have more activities or the event or the business plan to stand as the most representative film festival in the region. For example, Busan has been always trying to be the biggest locus, the field for the Asian cinema. In Toronto now they have they are regarded
the Oscar
festival
festival.
is it's not Oscar, but the festival is trying to be the biggest and most important film festival and the market without any the official market in North American territory.
Yeah.
So I think it's not just competing each other, but how to be the most important and significant film event in each continent.
Certainly.
I think Busan's vision and the major the perspective over how the festival should go based on the very region which is Asia.
And exactly because Asia, the winds of cinema are kind of, they're blowing to the east now. I mean,
Exactly.
China within a few years will be the world's largest market.
Exactly.
and
Especially
even with independent films, and we're seeing there was almost a Chinese sweep at the Berlinale this year.
yes.
And so we're just seeing a lot of kind of prominent stuff coming out of Asia. Obviously, Korea is always
Exactly.
kind of cutting edge of cinema.
Yes, I mean there are so many different type of interactions between each country in Asia, and I think one of the important reason how Busan could be established its name as the biggest, the film festival event in Asia, like, the Cannes of Asia, is that period was one of the, the most active and dramatic, the time for Asian cinema. And people moved, the film moved, and there were so many dramatic changes in each country's film scene, and which is still going on. So I think Asia is the most dramatic, land
Absolutely.
for this contemporary cinema.
There's no question.
That's
growing
why
leaps and bounds.
we see the brighter future for the festival.
Good. Exciting times ahead. So looking back just a second, you were, of course, a major presence at PFAN for many years. And as head programmer, of course, I've visited PFAN for many years, so I was a big fan of the festival. And how did it feel to move on after so long there?
Mixed films. Yes. But I felt sorry when I left PFAN, because I've spent 7 years for the festival as a programmer, and there have been a lot of changes and a lot of experiences. And during my service for PFAN, I got so many friends, including peers, and many people, good films. So it's so precious for me. So I was not sure if I can get back to, the film scene when I left PFAN. There's actually some misunderstanding that my joining Busan is already set up before I left PFAN, but which is not true. Because when I left the PFAN, it's just totally because of my personal commitment, which is my the academic plan. So I was in doubt. Will I ever be back
on the festival scene?
To the festival or whatever film industry scene. So when I come back, I'm very happy because I can be back with my friends, and I can still have the chance to watch tons of great films. But somehow it's a bittersweet when I think about PFAN, because, I'm working at the other festival, and some people think that they are rivals in Korea. Right. So I have to be very, very, careful on every step I make. But yeah, I'm very, very happy how PFAN is just going on now, and I think they will have a fantastic edition as previous years.
I certainly hope so. I'll be there again.
Yeah, sure. I will. As an audience.
Excellent.
For the first time.
That'll be an interesting experience for you. So yeah, but we're glad we didn't lose you from the film scene. Very glad to have you back. And so now that you're with BIFF, what would you say are the main changes between your roles and between the two festivals?
For PFAN, I mean, for the last 3 years as a head of programmer, actually I have to organize the programming. We have 2 more programmers, but I just have to give them the programmers which could be the theme of this year's edition. I have to lead the decision and the selection process, and yes, but in Busan I'm just one of the team members, so it's more like collaboration. And I have my main territory, so I can't focus on those, the particular films from particular regions. So that could give a lot of, freedom to focus on, the smaller number of films.
Right.
And I can use my energy to, consideration how I can promote the trend, how I can introduce a trend from, those particular region. Like, what is the trend of Latin American cinema? What is going on in Russian cinema now? I can concentrate more in a narrower region of the cinema scene. That's one of the good things that I can, enjoy.
Okay.
I think.
So you've got a little more freedom and a little more kind of a opportunity to to focus on something a little more.
But in the meantime, Busan is a really big festival, and they are actually preparing launch of new business plan, including IP television.
Oh, right.
And
I'm hearing about this.
I'm also in charge of the forum and the conference program.
So still quite a bit to do.
Yes, it's done by the BIFF Research Institute. So I'm just also the part of the institute. So there are other things that I have to take care of. So
sounds like it.
Basically, there are a lot of works too.
Always going to be a lot of work.
The film selection wise, I think, yeah, that's one of the big change, I guess.
Okay.
Focusing on the.
Now, you mentioned, just to go back a little bit, you mentioned Russia. Is that another area of focus for you?
Yes, including Russia and Australia and Israel.
Israel as well.
Yes,
Okay.
and I'm also in charge of non-Asian documentary selection.
Oh, okay. Very interesting. Oh, so it's quite a
films.
lot, actually.
We only have the 8 selections,
Uh-huh.
but there are so many good documentaries.
My
So
God,
sometimes
yeah.
it's a bigger burden than selecting the feature films from selected regions.
So how many films do you think you'll have to screen before BIFF rolls around this year?
You mean that
Like
the
ballpark
watching
figure, how
films?
many films do you think you need to watch?
I have no idea. I'm still buried by the ton of screeners and the online links sent by everywhere in the world. So, but very excited
Okay, very
to
good.
catch all these films.
So before being a festival programmer, you were a film critic. And so transitioning from being a film critic to a film programmer, I suppose there are some similarities there. Do these positions complemented each other?
Definitely. That's why I think that a lot of film critics were selected by the film festivals as programmers earlier years and still, too. I mean, the film critics, they should have their own perspective to, how can I say, evaluate? It's not really evaluation, but appreciate the film and how to deliver their ideas toward of the film to the audience or the readers. So I think basically it's the same job, like a matchmaker or a bridge builder. So yes, the dynamic of the work as a film critic and a film programmers, festival programmers, quite similar to each other, I guess. That helps me a lot, actually. But when you are right as a film critic, you can be very honest.
That's true.
Yes. Well, if you have to write about the film that you don't really like, you can hate it. You can show
you can hide behind the sword,
in
as
your
it were.
writing, right? But festival programming, I think, is different. I think it's, of course, it's just based on my preference and my, ideas of the cinema. But sometimes I need to pick up the film that I don't love 100%. But sometimes those films can make, the audience to approach the different type of films, could be a good, turning point. Or sometimes we have to select the films to make a balance the entire selection of the edition. So well, that could be the difference, I guess. But basically, I think those two jobs that I've experienced are quite complementary to each other.
That's good. That's good. Was one thing I wanted to ask you as well. I just realized, of course, KOFIC had a number of showcases in Latin America recently. Does that kind of affect any of the work you do there as a programmer there? Do you think that's interesting, having kind of Korean films kind of pushing into Latin America as well?
Sure. I think it's the vice versa, both ways. I mean, I think this year the KOFIC has some special plan with Mexican films, I guess.
Yes, I think they do. Yeah,
and they're very excited. Actually, I just met them during my stay there.
Oh yeah.
Yes, and I mean, those that all kinds of activities in exchange to each country's films to each other's the country could help definitely. I mean, they just think about it's not only just one time event. They think about what would come next,
right?
Like maybe we can have the the showcase, the Latin American cinema in Korea, or the Korean cinema showcase in Mexico. Maybe the next step would be the the festival screening, which could be in Busan or Guadalajara or the Guanajuato. This whole chain of event could start it from the one activity.
Absolutely.
So yes,
Yeah.
I've already talked with the people from the Mexican Film Institute, and they're very excited.
Excellent. Well,
And I wanted to start the discussion. What could be the next? Maybe you can do some other special program with Busan.
Indeed.
Definitely.
Exciting times ahead.
Yes.
Well, I have one more question for you. I know you're focusing on Latin American films these days, but I have to ask, what are some of your favorite Korean films?
Oh, that $1 million question. It's the most difficult question that I had. I don't know. I mean, that as a programmer, as a critic, as a scholar, as a teacher in the university for film student, I think I have different favorites for each, my positions. But I love classics first.
Okay.
I love classic films. I have to say the Housemaid
Of
by
course,
Kim
Kim
Kyo
Kyo, yeah.
should go top every time. But I also like, which is the Korean commercial genre films, which are not well made at all.
From like the older ones, you mean?
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
The commercial films from the 60s and 70s, they're always a big attraction for me.
Sure, sure.
Well, as a text, I guess, a filmic text, they have some loopholes, and there are some very, ugly elements in the films, but they have a very special energy.
They do. Yeah.
Yes, and so in those films, so I love those commercial films too, and I have too many, but contemporary one, in general, I used to say The Memories of Mother.
As good a choice as any. Certainly
you.
my favorite. All right. Well, with that, thank you again for coming into the studio. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. And
It was a pleasure to have a great chat, and thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. And congratulations again on your new appointment, and best of luck with the forthcoming 19th edition of the Busan International Film Festival.
Thank you so much.
For this week's Korean Film in Focus, I want to chat to you a little bit about Gina Kim's Final Recipe. Now, Final Recipe is an interesting film, being that it is a co-production from CJ Entertainment, fully financed by them, but co-produced with Thailand and Singapore. Of course, CJ has been breaking into China recently with films such like A Wedding Invitation last year, which was a remake of the film The Last Present from 2001, a Korean rom-com. And that film was made with a Korean director and crew, but starred Chinese and Taiwanese actors, and was made for the Chinese market. Was very successful there. It made something in the region of $30 million. So this is The Final Recipe. By all accounts, a slightly more significant production. It has a big star in the lead, being Michelle Yeoh. Also starring are Henry Lau, a young star, and Chin Han, who is can be well known to international audiences for his roles in blockbusters such as The Dark Knight, or currently in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. Now, the film is produced by Stephen Nam, who is in charge of kind of international co-productions on the North American side for CJ Entertainment. And, of course, he was the producer of Snowpiercer, huge hit. That is Bong Joon-ho's very big hit that is well-known around the world. So The Final Recipe is a culinary feature about a young chef whose grandfather's restaurant is about to go out of business, and in order to kind of get the funds to save it from bankruptcy, he enters a TV cooking competition that takes place in Shanghai. So he goes from Singapore to Shanghai against his grandfather's wishes. In fact, his grandfather, who is at this point in his deathbed, doesn't know that this is happening. So the film, of course, is largely a large part of the appeal of the film is the food. It's a very well-made film, and the food really does look quite appetizing. It follows certain Korean films that have been quite popular, like the two Le Grand Chef films or The Recipe. And so Final Recipe is kind of following in that trend. The film debuted at the San Sebastian International Film Festival in its culinary section last September, and also screened in Hawaii And also in Berlinale earlier this year, it was the opening film for their culinary section. And after the screening of the film, there was a special meal was made based on the recipes demonstrated in the film that was served to guests following that special screening. Next month, it will also be screening, as I mentioned earlier, at the Los Angeles Asian Pacific Film Festival. So that's a film from Gina Kim, who previously made the film Never Forever from 2007. That is was starred American actress Vera Farmiga as well as Korean star Ha Jong-woo. So that's it. Final recipe, and check that out. Certainly, if you're quite a foodie like I am. So thank you for joining us again for Korean Cinema Today. We had a great chat with Jin Park, newly appointed as the World Cinema Programmer of the Busan International Film Festival. And that's it for us this time. Please come visit us at koreanfilm.or.kr and find us again on iTunes by searching for the name of the podcast, which is once again Korean Cinema Today. That's it for me this week, and chat to you again about the latest in Korean film next time.